On September 10th, in the city of New York, as in many places, people were hurrying by one another, too busy with whatever they had going on to notice one another, way too busy and important to take time for a stranger. And on September 11th, that changed. Suddenly, the only thing that mattered was reaching out to one another, to knowing that we could publicly share our grief. We were not alone. Community was really all that mattered then. Do you remember? Do you remember who you shared your feelings with? It was so important. I remember finding out about it because my prayer partner called me that morning. And so my first interaction with the experience was praying. And my prayer partner at the time was the minister of this community. And so she asked me to help her contact all the other members of the prayer team. And so I called maybe half a dozen individuals, and with each one we prayed before I ever saw the images on the television. And that really changed my experience of 9/11. I remember, in contrast, when Columbine happened, the first thing that my exposure to that was either TV or the radio, I don't know which it was, but I remember the grief I was in that I could not pull myself out of. And not that I didn't have any grief for 9/11, but there was a lighter quality to it because it started with prayer. When I think about how our country, and I'm sure the whole world, but my experiences with our country, comes together in a tragedy, whether it's a Hurricane Katrina or a wildfire that has devastated us, or a family tragedy in the community, we come together and we hold one another. And I think it's where we are our best. And then the event ends. And slowly, everything goes back to the way it was. And once again, we're strangers. When I was thinking about this topic for coming together in community, I was asking myself, what is it that makes spiritual community different? Because when somebody has something happen within our community, we all rally around that person. But when that event has gone by, we don't stop caring. We don't stop noticing or checking in. We don't stay focused on the event. Because terrible as the things that happen are, like the shooting or 9/11 or anything else you can name, that is not the fullness of who we are. And when we come together in spiritual community, what we are doing is we are looking for the true colors in one another. We are calling them forth. We are saying, you are more than these circumstances that you are dealing with right now, whatever those might be. because they keep coming, right? There's just no end. We're here growing and expanding in our awareness of who we are, the light that we are. And so we keep getting experiences of darkness because you don't need a light if the room isn't dark. And so we keep being called into our light. And that's what we do for one another. When we come together in these groups, in these classes that Claire was talking about earlier, we are studying a subject that brings forth light. And we are doing it in community. I can't tell you how many times I have been inspired by something somebody in the class or the group that I was in said. Somebody gave me a note when we were just looking at our new mission statement and saying, is there anything more that we want to add? And she said, there's nobody, no matter how humble, that does not have something wise to say. And nobody, no matter how learned, who does not have something to learn. Our community is not organized with, I am the greatest. Here I am to tell you everything that you need to know. That is not it. I get to be in a role, along with many others in this community, where I get to share what is inspiring me with the faith that it will inspire you. But each one in this room, each one who is watching right now or whenever you are watching, we all have a direct pipeline to the divine. Because the divine is not in a place. The divine is. One of the sayings that really inspired me was from William, and he's taking this private class with me, and he had to write a paper, and the line that stayed with me, he had to talk about the kingdom of heaven, and what is the kingdom of heaven? And he said, I am the kingdom of heaven. I want you to all say that right now. Try it on. I am the kingdom of heaven. Just be with that for a minute. The kingdom of heaven is obviously not a location. Third star to the morning, turn left. It's not there. That there was a Soviet astronaut who was, came back from space, and he said, well, that settles it. No God. Didn't see him up there. It's not a physical place. It's a consciousness. The kingdom of heaven is a consciousness, and what we create in spiritual community is an amplified consciousness of the kingdom of heaven, of expansiveness. We create a container where each one of us it's like this is the cocoon, and each one of us can be transformed from the limitations that we think we have into the butterfly of fullness and light and possibility and joy that we were born to be. There's this line from Emily Cady. This book, Discover the Power Within, it's the book we're going to be using in the Foundations of Unity. But Emily Cady she was a homeopathic physician in the 1800s who was a primary writer. She wrote a book called Lessons in Truth. It became a book, but it started out as articles in the magazines that the Fillmores were publishing. And she says, oh, how in our ignorance we have mistaken and misunderstood God, in consequence of which we are today pygmies, when he wanted to make us giants in love and health and power by manifesting more of himself through us. Now, overlook the gender-based language and the God that seems to be localized, and recognize that we are so small in our expression compared to our possibility. And that's true of all of us, because we're infinite. We're infinite. And none of us ever manage to express our full infinity here. And that's not that's not a problem, because that's for another dimension. This dimension, by design, we are constrained. But it's also a dimension where we get to keep discovering. We get to keep unfolding and becoming more and more and more of who we are. And in spiritual community, we remind each other. We remember together. I love the word remember. It means to put the members, the parts of your bodies, all these pieces, to put them back together. When we remember who we are pulling back in the light that we are. We are remembering. Each one of us is just a rainbow of possibility and light. Everyone here. No one gets to say, oh, I'm only. Every one of you is amazing. I hope you go home and look in the mirror and say to yourself, you are amazing. Because you are. And you don't do us any favors by playing small. You're here to be light. There's this beautiful quote about compassion that I read by Vimala Thakar. She was a Hindu wise woman who died in 2006, but she inspired a lot of people in her lifetime.
Is your battery going out?
Can I swap this?
Time out.
Just ponder those wise thoughts. Okay, so, I had a friend once who her ancestry was from the Baltic area of Europe, and she was saying that whenever they would do a weaving or any kind of physical creation, they always had to have a flaw in it, because otherwise the evil eye would get you. That was their belief. So thank you, Kevin, for providing the flaw that keeps the evil eye away from us. Compassion is a spontaneous movement of wholeness. It is not a studied decision to help the poor, to be kind to the unfortunate. Compassion has a tremendous momentum that naturally, choicelessly moves us to worthy action. It has the force of intelligence, creativity, and the strength of love. This vast intelligence that orders the cosmos is available to all. The beauty of life, the wonder of living, is that we share creativity, intelligence, and unlimited potential with the rest of the cosmos. To realize that we are not simply physical beings on a material planet, but that we are whole beings, each a miniature cosmos, each related to all of life in intimate, profound ways. That should radically transform how we perceive ourselves, our environments, our social problems. Nothing can ever be isolated from wholeness. Nothing can ever be isolated from wholeness. You are whole, holy in yourself. And we are whole when we come together. Because each one of us is a mirror for the others. You've probably seen something in another person that either fills you with horror or awe. Both of those can be found within, because we are not separate. We can't separate and say, oh, all those rotten folks are over there on their highway to hell. There are human beings walking around, certainly, who have disconnected themselves from their awareness of the light that they are. But that doesn't change that they are the light. It changes the choices they make. It changes whether or not they experience peace. But it doesn't change that they are the light. And when we see those people who fill us with awe, the ones that seem to be so wise or so brave or so loving, they are also mirrors reminding us of who we are. They are also they are mirrors who are reminding us that we have even more light to shine. And when we come together in spiritual community, we are reminded of that. The energy that we put into a spiritual community also creates a container. Those 5 beautiful little girls that went running out there this morning, they get to be supported in growing up, knowing that they are the light, that they have something important to share. Here they are running around with microphones at 5 and 7 or whatever their ages are, feeling completely empowered to stand in front of a group and be significant. Some of you can probably remember at that age you did not have that confidence. Some of you did, and you probably got in trouble for it. But that's what we want to do. We want to create this environment. We want to amplify the kingdom of heaven so that when anybody walks in this door, they feel like they have come home. That's why we're here, to be the kingdom of heaven for each other, to remind each other that true colors are always there and available. That even though something may have happened to you, or even though circumstances in the world may seem a little rotten, that you are more than that. That you have a strength in you that you have not yet tapped. But it is there. It is there. That whatever it is that seems to be eluding you, whether it's love or prosperity or health, that's an illusion. All of it is within. Your job is to open the doors and let it out, not to go running around trying to find it to get it in. It's already there. When we think about the Twin Towers, if you think about it metaphysically, when the terrorists attacked the Twin Towers, what are the terrorist thoughts that attack that within us which is able to stand upright? Thoughts like, you're not good enough. Thoughts like, you can't handle this. What could you possibly do? Do you ever have those thoughts of self-doubt? They're lies. That's what we need to destroy, not other human beings. We need to destroy thoughts that are keeping us from our brilliance. There was an old cartoon, Pogo. We have seen the enemy, and he is us. Those thoughts, they come from the collective, but we sign up for them. And we are the only ones who can free ourselves. One of the teachings in Unity talks about these 12 powers that are powers we can claim as our own because they are aspects of the divine. And one of the powers is elimination. So we can say no. We can pull it out of our energy field and we can affirm what is true. I am unlimited. I am love. I am life. I am the kingdom of heaven. So today, as I hope you will have an opportunity to stay and enjoy the food that we have, and that you will take time to meet somebody that you haven't met before. Because that person that you haven't met before, even the people online, take the time to stay on the Zoom and meet some of the others that are there. You never know what the medicine that they will have for you might be. What mirror will they show you? There are no spare parts here. We are all integral colors of the rainbow, of the beautiful life that we sometimes call God. Namaste.